All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is add a couple of images in here. You can see we've got a small image and a large image gallery. I'll ask you to update those on your own, but let's go ahead and put a picture in. So an image really, but the command is picture. So if you go to picture, you can go and grab what you want. I'm going to pick this small corner rug here from my set, and I'm just going to left click and kind of pull it over here and place it in. And then it's up to you how you want to scale it or place it. You know, you can pick it obviously and just kind of put it in. I like things to be aligned, so I'm just going to type align, and I'm going to align this, right? And I'm going to do it to the left and align it right there, right? So it's aligned there. And then I'll just go to picture again, and I'll go grab another option. So I have some curated options in here that I'll go over with in class for you guys. And then I'll come in here, and if you want to, you can be kind of prescriptive like that, or if you want them to be exactly the same size, right, you can just scale them. So I move this guy from here to here and scale it from there to there to there, and then move it back down, and I've got them kind of in a nice little row. And then you could align them obviously with any part of these that you wanted to, but for right now that's fine for me. Okay, so now we've got those in there. What you also want to make sure of, and let me make this a little smaller over here, is that they're on the correct layer. So right now, if I pick one of these guys and I go to the objects, it's on guides, which is not really advantageous. You really want to make sure that you have everything on the right layer so you can control visibility and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to select these two, and there is an images layer right here. So I'm going to right click and change the object layer to those. So now when I pick that and I go to objects, it's on the image layer. You can also do it here as well, right? You could change it in here. I find it easier doing it through the layer dialog box. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, and it's a little bit ahead of time, is I'm going to make the little crosses for the centers of the circles that you're going to need. And then I'm also going to make an additional layer for the center lines. These layers here are actually set up, you know, for sort of a general line weighting situation. And again, if I come in, let's maybe make these a little shorter and make this a little bigger so you can see it. For a general line weighting situation, so thin lines are 0.13, medium lines are 0.18, and then we have some 0.2 and 0.25, and then a 0.5. Typically, what you're going to get in a drawing set are 3 basic line weights, and then you'll have some intermediary line weights for extra and additional emphasis for purposeful use. But the 3 basic line weights that are pretty well divided up. These layer names don't necessarily correspond with what these up here are used for. So for example, if I pick this, which is a dashed line, right? The dashed line. If I come in and go to the objects, it's actually on medium geometry below wall partition, right? So there are some things that are a little inconsistent. In my view, once you start this, you could rename these, right? So here's that medium geometry wall partition below. You could rename it to, you know, guides, right? Okay. A few other things like the crosses were on this nature, you know, and you know you're not going to really be using, whoops, you're not really going to be using the nature layer, so we could go in and rename this guy to thin centers, right? So I think that it's fair for you to be able to go through and kind of rename these guys as you might need, to make so it makes more sense to you. You don't have to, but it might be helpful to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and make the centers. So let's go ahead and draw a line. I'm just going to draw a line here, and I'll make it 0.25. This, let's go ahead and zoom in here, and we'll make this guy current. And draw a line, and 0.25 is going to be in inches. And then I hit the space bar to stop that. And then I could draw another line vertically, but I tend to like to use editing commands. So I'm going to use mirror MI as the shortcut. And I'm just going to mirror this guy at a 45-degree angle so it splits in half. If you go to your OSNAP settings down here, you can adjust where, usually it's, I think by default set to 90 degrees, and I like mine set to 45, so I can do little things like that. Now once you have this guy, you have one of two choices. You can either block it or group it. So if you just pick it and group it, right, makes it a group. So now you pick it as one big thing, moves all around. I tend to like to block it, so I'm going to Control Z out of that until I'm back to my individual pieces. And I'm going to type in block. And it wants me to select the objects to define the block, so I'm going to pick those guys. And then press enter when done. And then it wants a block base point. So I was going to be the center of this guy. And I'm going to name it centers. And click OK. And it's going to make a definition in a file folder of its brain that has this in there. So I'm just actually going to pick this and create and actually go ahead and delete it, right? So I'm going to kind of have it in my back pocket. We'll use it later. So again, you could leave it as a group. If you group it, you have to leave it out there. So let's go ahead and do one more thing. I'm going to make an additional layer, right? And I'll just call it, why not keep it on 03 and underscore medium, or actually I guess 02 is medium, right? 2 medium, and we'll make this center line. Okay, and that's going to be, instead of continuous, we'll make it a center line type, and maybe we'll make this guy 0.18 for a medium. All right, and that'll kind of get us set up. I'm going to hit Control 0. Let's see. And get all this guy back in here. Okay, so now we're kind of set up and ready to go. And when we come back, we'll start drawing some stuff.